All right, so we're live here. Looks like we're 6.5 into the, we got Mount Sinai versus the YJ Mitchell game. We got a special guest here in the house that we call it, that Joe built. Joe Spallina sitting next to me. How we doing, Coach?
Thanks for having me. It's a great night. A little 10:20 in the StonyBrook indoor facility. Good times.
Do you ever leave this place, man? It's like
start to feel like maybe I don't.
Got your hometown playing right now. Got Alexa's group. It's kind of cool to see. What's it like from your perspective here? Just kind of watching, sitting back.
Well, it's great. I think overall the league is a great thing. Obviously, it's something we're really excited about, to be able to put a high level lacrosse in our facility. I think when you look at having an indoor facility like this on Long Island, especially in Suffolk County for our school, it's obviously a great thing to put. And it allows the kids to play full field in the winter, which, not a lot of places get to do that. So, it's obviously awesome. And then obviously watching Mount Sinai play, it's where we live. So it's great watching these kids play. A lot of my daughter's friends, and it's good times.
You've probably known some of these girls since they're in kindergarten. You probably put sticks in hands.
I do know a lot of them, and it's funny. A bunch of them play on my travel team, my daughter's travel team, and so I obviously know a lot of them that way. And then just a lot of them since they're little. So it's pretty cool to watch them grow up and now be playing varsity. It's pretty cool.
Crazy, man. Yeah. So it's been great to see the growth of the league. Obviously you got local teams like Mount Sinai here, which is cool. But we even have teams. We got Long Beach in the league. They travel an hour and 20 minutes sometimes on a tough night to get out here. But like you said, there's not many opportunities to play full field indoors on Long Island.
I think the best thing about it too, Cora, is I don't know if the kids even realize how good they have it right now. But with hopefully Suffolk County, Nassau County adapting the shot clock, New York State. Hopefully by next year, these kids have an opportunity to play with the shot clock, to be able to make time decisions. I think the coaches to get used to coaching with a shot clock, where they're not as robotic in their decision making, and allowing the kids to make more instinctual plays and not be so reliant on plays. Which is a bad word with my StonyBrook team. We don't run plays. We run offense, and we want our kids to be creative and play at a good pace. And I think that's something that we're only you'll see them be able to play the game without thinking, and just to kind of be, we always talk about unconscious high level decision making.
No doubt. And that's that's definitely a learning process, especially for girls that might be from a program or playing for coaches that are used to running plays and patterns and basically having as much time as you want. So that process, we see it unfold, girls in 7th, 8th grade playing for the first time. But even in the short time that they play with the shot clock in this league over the course of 6 weeks, you see growth. It's crazy to see it.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, you see them not, they push transition. Then they know how to make those decisions where it's not, for the lack of a better term in the sport, like Dean Smith, four corners lacrosse, where it's stall ball. And it's tough to watch. I think as a college coach, it's harder and harder. Not for me, just because I obviously have my daughter playing and I know a lot of the kids and I'm from Long Island, but if you're a college coach from another area, are you going to travel to Long Island to watch a 5-4 game where in a high school level where the kids aren't playing? So you're not really evaluating plays, you're watching, and it's not the coach's fault for sure, it's the rules, right? I mean, coaches are coached to, they're paid to win, and so I'm excited. I've talked to a lot of people. I feel like there's a very, very strong chance that New York State's going to adopt the shot clock by next year, and I think that'll make boys and girls way better, because you look at MIA and in Maryland, you're playing with a shot clock. So it's an advantage when these kids get to college.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm sure for you, running a top 5 program, it's you want girls that make incredible decisions, like you said, those unconscious decisions at full speed. It's hard to evaluate that when you're playing in a game that you could be just holding the ball, playing keep away for 10 minutes. It's you're not even really making decisions in those situations.
Yeah, and it comes down to almost making mistakes instead of making plays, because all right, who turns the ball over when it's 4-4 late in the second half, and I think that's really tough to, for the players too, because it's they're not really playing lacrosse as opposed to playing chess, so
right.
I think that's something where I think a lot of our freshmen get to school and they're they get to play with a shot clock and it's so fast, and they're like, that's the biggest thing. You're like, what do you think? They're like, it's so fast.
Right.
You know, because there's no time to really sit.
Yeah, and I think you talk about the MIA. It's a great example of a unique, basically, silo of high school lacrosse where a group of teams are playing with a shot clock, and they're super high level, obviously. But for us on Long Island, as we look to adopt it into the, into high school, which obviously we're not there yet, but like this is the next best thing. Like this is really how these girls can prepare, and especially for you, where 95% of your roster is from Long Island. How are you getting those girls prepared to play with the shot clock, and they have to do stuff like this, fortunately for them.
Yeah, no doubt. On the boys' side as well. So I think the right people are making the push. I think the cost was an issue, but I think there's some good options shot clock wise, and I think that'll be really good.
Yeah, no doubt. So Sinai striking here, nice save. So this YJ team collection of sophomores here, so they're kind of just entering their recruiting process. How about for you guys? Like, where are you at with recruiting, and what's your timeline like compared to maybe some of the other programs? Yeah,
I think we're really happy with our 25 class. I think obviously it's an exciting time knowing the class. I haven't coached that class for so long, so we're excited today. I don't want to say we're done, but I think it's a situation where we're selective from this point on. We're never done recruiting. I tell my assistants that, and they understand. And we recruited kids that fit our DNA. Hardworking kids that love the sport and good teammates, and probably a lot of the characteristics that other programs try to recruit. But I think us being in this hotbed here on Long Island and knowing players that come from, and fit what we do is certainly an advantage.
Absolutely. No, it's good to know those intangibles, especially from an early age. I feel like your 25 class is almost like very like underrated, like in terms of who you picked up. People are going to be hearing about a lot of your girls, I feel like, in the future, but they're going to be like, wait, where did they come from? Because
it's kind of like it's almost like a lot to the way we've built our program. Yeah. It's like we get kids that maybe aren't 5 stars coming in, but when they leave, they're certainly 5 stars, and we have we're really fortunate with this group that we have coming this year for StonyBrook. It's going to be it's a special group, and it's we return our top 9 scorers and most of our defense. We got great goalies, so it's really a complete group. It's pretty it's very exciting for us. We're going into the season. It's going to be set up with Ellie Massera and Hart, and we got all those big dogs at the top.
Yeah, that's so great to have all those returners. And how about the schedule? You guys kind of set in stone with where you're playing and what you're doing?
We're pretty much set. Our schedule's pretty much set. We're playing 2 of the 4 teams that were in the Final Four in Syracuse and Denver. Excited about that. We're playing Rutgers. We're playing Hopkins, Stanford. So we've got a nice schedule. We feel really good about it, and our players are. We'll have an opportunity with, the schedule that's in front of us. We take care of business on the schedule. We'll be looking at a lot of home playoff games. So, I think that's something that's our goal, right, to get to that Final Four. And I'm not sure we've ever have had as complete of a squad as we have coming in this year.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And how's the transition been for you guys with the new conference, and what's that been like?
It's been great. I mean, last year was a great year for us. We played really well in our conference games. I think we, obviously even the championship game was a running time game, which was pretty exciting for us. We played probably one of our better games all year, putting it on, on Towson in that game. But it's a lot more travel, so that part of it is, it's a lot. But, overall, our players are pretty adept to that and being able to respond to that.
Your players enjoy those experiences where you kind of get to get on the bus and get on the road and stay in the hotels?
Yeah, they have a good time on the road. It's a really, really close group, so it's like never a dull moment kind of squad. So it's about as family-like as it could be. So this year we have 11 home games, so that's exciting for for us where we're going. And I think last year was kind of the other way around. So for us to be home, we play pretty good lacrosse when we're home. So
I think a big part of your success at home, which is again something that you've built and just it's embedded in the culture, is now there's actual StonyBrook women's lacrosse fans. So like, for those people that don't know and don't live in this area, like it's not uncommon to see thousands of fans just coming to a lacrosse game, no different than they might go to a Syracuse boys lacrosse game, right? And you know, they're watching your boys up there. Like, it happens down here in Long Island, which is so cool, and it's something that didn't always exist. How's that transformation been for you? Like, has it been cool seeing that growth?
It's really, honestly, it's one of my goals when I remember taking the program over. It was like people would come to our games to see who we were playing. You know, and that was like, I'll never forget, like I always talk about, like we went to Johns Hopkins, like my 4th game that I was at StonyBrook. Hopkins was a top 5 team, and they were all kids from Long Island wearing like Johns Hopkins sweatshirts. And I remember pregame saying to my kids, like, we need to win this game so that crap stops, you know, like, and we wound up winning the game on a walk-off. Claire Peterson scored like 3 seconds ago, and it got us into the top 20 for the first time in the program's history. And it's one of the things where, like, you come to StonyBrook and you're going to play against us and you're going to play against our fans. They're not lacrosse fans here. There's a StonyBrook fan. So, like, when you come here, you know, our fans are all about the success of our team.
Yep.
You know, and it's a rough place to play for other teams. It's kids that are playing really hard and fans that are cheering really hard, and the atmosphere is crazy, and our kids have a way of coming out of the locker room at, like, you know, at just a completely different mindset. So, you know, they take a lot of pride knowing we have a pretty lengthy, you know, we've been very successful for a long time at home. And like, you know, I always say, like, that's the mark of a really good team, right? You got to dominate at home and then be able to be a good squad on the road. But our fans are a huge part of that. It's always, you know, we have different energy at home.
Yep, no doubt. And then you talk about, like, getting that home playoff game, like, you know, you're used to that success at home, and then all of a sudden now it's playoff time when it means the most. Like, that's a huge edge for you guys. So, you know, hopefully that comes together.
Great stop.
And I assume at this point you guys are kind of done with fall ball. Everyone's wrapping up finals and you take a little break.
Yeah, fall was great. You know, we had 5 different events, and then we went from that to, you know, we changed things up a little bit this year. We started a little bit later. I know a lot of teams try to get out of the gate and start in early September, and for us, we started late September. And then we wound up going, our last event was against Michigan, I think late October, and then we ramped up conditioning and practices into a little bit later in November. So it bridges the gap between the end of fall ball and the start of the spring. So
nice.
Little change up, and I think when you return so many players, you want to try to keep things fresh, a little different look and vibe. Yep. So.
And how did the holiday party go?
Oh my God, it was crazy. We had 50 people in the house. Dogs were going crazy. You know, it was pretty funny. I had the apron on, carving turkey for the squad. So we do a homemade meal, you know, for the team, and they're pretty good. Freshmen make gingerbread houses. Some a little better than others, but.
Do you have a champ? Who won the
I don't know. Listen, I thought Abernathy, who's standing next to me, so I'm going to say that. I thought hers was probably the most impressive. I think probably the roughest looking one was Abby Sabella's. It looked like it went through a tornado, so that was a rough one. But, you know, it was fun.
A storm came through and just started knocking sprinkles off the roof.
It was ugly. It was ugly.
All right, so we're halftime here. All right, last game of the night, and the HSWL. Again, we got Joe Spallina on the mic here, special guest. It's good to have Coach Spallina hosting us here in the house. I'm sure you guys spend a lot of time in here getting better, no? Is this a good spot for you guys?
No, I love it in here. I mean, we live in here. Obviously, we're renting in here all the time. I have my 2025 team. It's been, you know, those kids are all committed now. We're pretty excited. I think we had 25 kids, all 25 committed Division I schools.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. And then the boys come home from school on this weekend, and they spend a lot of time in here as well training. And we get some college runs up and down with different, you know, local college boys, and with scrimmage them. I run them through drills and stuff to kind of sharpen the axe a little bit for those guys before they go back to start their season. a lot of guys who played club for me, and then other guys, local guys that we know that come, and we usually get like 25, 30 guys a run and get them up and down. It's always a really, really cool experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, those guys, I'm sure they go back right after the new year now. I feel like everything starts even earlier and earlier. So.
Yeah, I think my boys go back January 7th.
Okay.
So it's early. They don't have their first scrimmage till January 27th, and then first game's February 3rd. So it's
Yeah, just saw their schedule released on Instagram for the Syracuse boys.
Yeah, they have some skill. I think obviously you start off with the ACC, and then it's a lot there after that.
Yeah, let me pull this up here because I was looking at that this morning. They have so I guess Vermont and Colgate are those scrimmages before they.
Those are
play.
games.
Those are games.
Yeah, the only scrimmage
okay.
is January 27th. The scrimmage in Michigan.
Okay, gotcha. So they open up home against Vermont.
Yeah, Vermont, Colgate, 2 games in 3 days.
And they got Manhattan.
That's a Coach O Bowl.
Coach O Bowl. Then you got the Terps on the 17th.
That's a pretty cool day. That's a men's and women's doubleheader, Maryland Cuse.
Oh, cool.
It's a pretty good. That's going to be a pretty fun day there.
That's awesome. So their first 2, 4, 6, 7 games are all home.
Yeah, they got a lot of home games. I think that's the having the dome is a nice thing. I think that's the boys and I were laughing, like a lot of their friends go south to school, but they're in shorts and a t-shirt more than those guys that playing down at the blue schools.
Exactly. Yeah, you got that beautiful facility. I mean, same with you guys too. Unfortunately, you can't play games in here though, right? You gotta.
Yeah, we're a little short to be able to play a full game, so this is more of like our training site, and then which we'll spend a lot of time in here. I think there's a quality of life thing.
Sure.
Our team's happier. We're in shorts and a t-shirt. I think the coach, who could be a little cranky sometimes, he's happier, in a hoodie and sweatpants instead of freezing. But
yeah, what's great about like the program that you've built and like the type of student athletes that come to you, I just feel like everyone's so family oriented, so they like being for the most part closer to home. I know you do have a couple. You got a girl from Cuse on the roster, and then you got a Maryland girl now, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But for the most part, everyone's close to home, so that's just kind of like the makeup of the girls, which is great because that's the atmosphere you have.
Yeah, they know. Listen, it's helpful for a lot of ways. Like even in the intersession, right? Like where a lot of kids are, our locals will train together, and whether it be here or they go up the road to Revo, but they're spending time together. So when you're able to do that, it's makes everything a little bit. I always say, like, when things are personal, they mean a little bit more, and I think that for our kids, it's always personal. They're around each other all the time, so they don't get breaks from one another. I think my daughter's losing her mind coaching over there tonight.
A new perspective for Alexa.
Yeah, it's cool. So she's cleared. She's back. Dad won't let her play, so she just, she's coming off an injury. So she's cleared, but she's in the early stages of being cleared. So we're just going to be slow getting her. I'm hoping by after the new year we'll get her back and
it's
in the general.
It's a marathon, so she's got plenty of lacrosse ahead, and the season again for high school lacrosse here on Long Island. I mean, it's not really till the second week of March do tryouts get going, and then the season. So there's just so much time between now and then. So there's no rush.
Yeah, no doubt. I know. She wanted to play last week. Her and Kyle could have had the showdown. That was a great game.
It was a good one, man. They played them tough. They really did. That's a really good Garden City group that they're head to head with. But when you don't have your quarterback, it's you see it in the NFL, right? Week to week, their starting quarterbacks go down. And unless some magic happens, like what's going on in the Giants, like
yeah, right.
For the most part, you're screwed.
There's no doubt. And I think that's one of the things for her. It's a different perspective over there, but
yep.
She had a killer summer, and I think the biggest thing for her is just getting 100% healthy. And I think she's obviously one of the emotional leaders for them. So it kills her to not be able to be out there with her teammates, but.
But what's cool is you see her connecting with her teammates before, during, and after the game in different ways. Whether it's talking to the goalie and giving her some pointers, or just talking to the midfielders when they come off between shifts. Like it's good perspective, and it's great to see it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Showing her leadership.
She's missing it, but it's good. This is a good, she's really good at understanding the importance of mental reps and being able to, be able to be a good leader and help kids through things. Obviously, a lot of young kids out. The Sinai group would be interesting this year. I think they're going to be really good. They got a lot of talent, so it's a matter of shoring some things up. They're struggling a little bit, tonight, but I think when they get all those, it's hard, right, with small schools. You got players, and it's like you fill a lineup, right? And then you fill that lineup. I remember, coaching high school for years.
Yeah.
With Mike Bowler at Rocky Point, we'd have our second midfield line was our first attack. And you flip-flop those guys, and you figure things out, and you get guys some playing time. And, it's like one of those things that, it kind of evolves as the season goes.
Yeah, no doubt. Those are just constraints you live by when you're a small public school out here in Suffolk. But it's, it's a good thing because, I'm sure there's other girls that are going to be Impact players that aren't here tonight that might be, starting for, their hoops team right now out there, or, playing other sports. So it's good to see that.
Yeah.
And weren't you for a short time when you were at Rocky Point coaching the women's soccer team too? Did you make a run with the
So that's how I got kind of pushed into girls lacrosse.
Oh, so it started with soccer.
So I was Mike Bowler's assistant coach for 7 years on the boys varsity and coaching girls varsity soccer. We had some good teams. Went to the state finals one year.
Cool.
And it was a lot of the same kids, and the head coach of the girls team had stepped down. And the athletic director at the time came to me and was like, I want you to take over the girls lacrosse program. And I said, nope. And I said, absolutely not, I'm not doing it. And she says, pretty sure you're untenured, and you can. And then she was smart. She went after, told the girls, all my soccer kids, that she wanted me to take over, and they pressured me. And at that time, it was, it was with the understanding that I would shift over and take over the boys varsity at the right time. And
right.
We had, I think, 3 years of successful teams at RP. And then I wound up making the flip over to Delphi, and then consequently being able to flip over here. So
crazy.
Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, crazy path. As I'm sure you were kind of like destined just to be tenured and like you said, coach high school, and then all of a sudden you're morphing into the college game, which is awesome because most teachers / coaches, which is what you are, a coach, like you don't get that opportunity just because locally it's tough to sometimes find that as an option.
It's funny. I tell my kids all the time, I tell our players, just be where your feet are. And it was like truly was, I never envisioned, like, my dream, I wanted to be the boys varsity lacrosse coach at Rocky Point. Right. That was what I wanted. It's like life takes you in different places. And then all of a sudden there you are coaching girls varsity lacrosse. Like, what am I, and then falling in love with the women's game, and then being able to go to Adelphi. We won a couple of natties, and then obviously to be able to build this program was something I didn't envision. I remember the first time the athletic director called me, I was like, no, man, I'm good here. And I was like, we'd coming off some national championships, and it was rough sledding here, and and then things happen, and able to get this thing going. It's been pretty cool for all these Long Island kids to have a place home,
So, like, how were you eventually able to, like, dream up what could have been here? Like, what kind of pushed you over the edge to be like, all right, I guess I'm going to take this over?
You know what? That's a great question. I wasn't sure even when I did it if I was 100% like, all right, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, I knew my goals and aspirations were, and then I did want to go Division I. I had interviewed at Ohio State previously when I was at Adelphi, and just wasn't the right fit. Didn't feel like a Long Island guy going to Columbus, Ohio was probably the best fit. And I regretted not taking that, and then I didn't, right? Like, so then it was like, all right, now I have a chance to try to see if I could do this thing here. I actually took a leave of absence at Rocky Point. I didn't resign because I wasn't sure,
Right.
And then we got it going. I had wound up with, I think, 7, this was pre-crazy transfer portal days, but 7 Adelphi kids transferred from Adelphi to StonyBrook. It was like the perfect storm. We were winning national championships there. We were blowing everybody out, and their coach was going 30 minutes down the road to coach Division I. It was like it was kind of like a jailbreak where a bunch of them wanted to come. So, and then here we are, 12 years later.
Wow, amazing.
I'm getting ready to retire.
No, not yet. We got to keep it going. There's a lot of fans that are itching to come out to some StonyBrook games this spring. We got to keep it rolling.
It should be a fun year for sure.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. So we're entering the fourth quarter here. Again, last game of the night here, and then after Sunday we head into the playoffs after the New Year. So again, we have 3 different brackets. So we'll have 3 different champs, which will be cool. And in this league in particular, we also got the boys going too. Yeah, I remember when you were coaching the boys, or just helping out, back when, when Jake, Brett, and even when Joey was playing, again, you talk about a small school. Like, there were I remember some nights there was, 1 sub maybe, or you're grabbing kids from, club teams and, just it's almost like pickup. You're just out here just playing to get better. But
one of my boys, Jake, who was facing off, playing offense and defense and doing everything, kind of, but that's what you do. Like, you're a small school and you have, you're playing 4 middies and you got to figure out a way to survive,
Yep.
It's like.
What's your perspective right now on the 26 class? Like, one thing that, I'm seeing with some of the higher level players in that class, it seems like they're going to prospect days every week. Like, they're just all over the place trying to get on radars. Like, what's your thoughts on what 26s should be doing right now?
So all I'll say is I'll tell you what we did with our 25s. Like, I think for me as a college coach, I think if you go to 25, these tournaments together, right? So you could see the year difference in growth, physical growth.
Yep.
Between a 25 and a 26. Like, if you look at our 25 team, there's grown women.
Right.
Where 26 there's a couple big kids. Like, kids are having totally hit their spurts. So, I noticed that this fall, talking to a bunch of coaches, how you could see physically the difference in the 25s and 26s. So extremely talented group from what I've seen thus far. I think really stronger in the midfield. Where I think it's hard to compare classes. I think the 25 class, for me at least, was a class that I just knowing the class through. It's a loaded class. Like, I think there's really, some high-end attackmen. I think there's, the 26 class I think is really good in the midfield. I think that's probably where its strength, where 25 class maybe a little bit more attack heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's, it's interesting because I think now is the time that these 26s should be going to prospect days, not earlier in the fall. And you try to give that advice because, number one, a lot of coaches are still looking at 25s early in the fall, right? But the growth difference between the 25 and 26 is it's big, right? So if you get it, and I always say, no ink is better than bad ink. Mm-hmm. Because because the amount of times you go and it's you show up to a game to watch some player and another kid just pops on the screen. You're like, all right, well, wow. Especially later in the process, like when you're looking at July lacrosse or, June lacrosse. So,
it's kind of crazy to think that, just look at the 25s. They haven't even played their junior year varsity yet, right? And I understand that, some of these girls are out there have played 8th grade, 9th grade varsity, so, they're used to the physicality and all that, but they haven't even played their junior season. Now you look at the 26s, some of them maybe have never even played varsity, let alone get any minutes, played their sophomore season. So it seems a little early to me. I don't know. It seems a little early still.
Yeah, and I think there's, unfortunately, what I've noticed in club lacrosse, I think it's with the boys too. I mean, it's a big thing in club lacrosse. And it's not the parents' fault. There's a lot of FOMO. Mm-hmm. Sally's going to this showcase and Billy's going to that showcase and, Johnny's playing soccer, and then parents start yanking, these kids start thinking about, I'm maybe not going to play fall sports because I'm going to miss out on these prospect days that ultimately don't mean a thing. So, they mean something, but not much. The evaluations in the fall are much different than summer evaluations. It's just because how can you gauge, one kid who's a multi-sport athlete who's in the middle of field hockey season who comes to a lacrosse tournament as opposed to the kid who's specializing in lacrosse and is totally focused on just lacrosse. So I think when you look at some of our best kids, they've been multi-sport kids. We encourage that. Like I tell all our travel, like, you're not missing soccer. You're not missing. You're going to go do those things because that's who you are. You only get a certain amount of games in your life. You want to make sure you play those games. So, I think that's the FOMO thing is a real thing. I think people think they have to be doing all these things, and my 25 team would be laughing, but it's show less, look better, as opposed to show more. And then what happens is they start to pick apart. If you get seen too much, they start to pick apart things. And I think we saw that sometimes. You see that sometimes with coaches or kids that do too much, they kind of fall out of favor. And it's like, when you talk to coaches about their evaluation on kids, like, what? It's not that kid, but that's what they say,
Yeah, no doubt. And with the 25s too, like you mentioned how, you're always still looking. Like, do any success stories pop up in your mind when you think about maybe a Stony Brook girl that had a great career for you that you grabbed later in the process?
I mean, listen, this is like one of the best all-time stories. I'll use it till Claire Levy, who, in my humble opinion, is the best defender in the country, college defender in the country. I just don't think there's any that, number one, or just do what she does on every level. The draw, clearing, running the defense. Now she's playing offense. She's the best, the sickest thing about her, Rocky Point kid, so RP in the house. She never played club lacrosse.
So obviously she didn't get recruited as a sophomore, right?
No, I was the only maniac who knew who she was because I was like watching. But that was what I'm saying. Like, I'm able to go to a Rocky Point game on a Tuesday,
right?
And I remember my brother was a coach. I'm like, who is that kid? He's like, oh, she's not sure if she's going to play in college. I'm like, well, do you have any more of hers? I had like 10 of those. Like, and Claire is like an all-timer. She started every game in her career here. Her first ever start, she had no idea she was starting until that did the pre-game announcements. They called her out against North Carolina, the defending national champion in North Carolina.
So you didn't give her time to think about it.
She didn't have time to think about it. She went out there and just dominated, and she's a 3-year captain, 2-time All-American for a kid who never played club lacrosse.
Right.
So I always say, like, fit is more important than anything else, right? Like,
so when you saw her, you said your brother was coaching at the time?
Yeah.
So she was obviously a junior, right?
I went to watch somebody else.
Right, you're watching someone else, and it's her junior year. She's playing, so think about it, right? So this would be like a 25 playing her junior year.
Bingo.
It could be late spring.
Yep.
Obviously she's uncommitted, and there you go.
And that's where you always, like, just play. Like, you tell these kids, just play. Like, don't worry about any of that other stuff. And, like, if one of these kids on this field right now has the career that Claire Levy had, they would, God bless them.
Yeah, no doubt.
The kid's done everything. One of the more decorated players to ever play here, and just an incredible kid. So I think that's important for kids, to be able to, to realize that, and it's a good take right there.
Yeah, like you're saying, just keep progressing and don't focus on the FOMO. Focus on yourself and getting better and enjoying, what you're doing, like having your feet under you.
And we did a lot with my travel team. Like, we don't pull the Maserati. Like I always say, we don't pull the Maserati out of the garage lot.
Right.
And when we come out, we show.
Right.
Like, we make sure that the axe is sharp when we come out. We don't go to every, the Charlie Brown Invitational, all these different things. We come out, we come out. So, just so people, like NCAA rules, I can't comment on players, which is why we're not really talking about player by player this way. So nobody thinks we're skipping this great game that we're lucky to watch in front of us.
Of course.
But let me tell you something I noticed about this league this year. The camera work is elite.
Yeah, no doubt. LI Sportsnet is crushing it. They're
the
doing
angles are great. Like
Yep.
it's really easy to follow and watch. And
great. Got the replays going.
the replay right after is lights out.
We're
so.
actually working right now, Joe, too, on having the shot clock show up next to where the scoreboard's ticking down.
I can't even get that in my college games.
Yeah, I know. Wait, listen, ESPN might buy us out.
What's going on here? We're on the Ocho. We don't even get that. Unreal. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe we'll stream one of the games. I don't know what the contracts looks like, but maybe we'll snag a game, a non-league game or something.
That would be sick.
Yeah, no doubt. So, all right, that's going to do it. Joe, thanks for having us, man.
All right, thanks for running this awesome league here. It's the best.
No, this is great. And that's it. So, YJ with the W, and we'll catch you guys on Sunday. Have a great night, everyone.